The eMilitia Podcast, Episode 28, Matt, the Statist Quo, Prison and Liberty. Enjoy fuckers.
Hello and welcome to the eMilitia Podcast. I'm Bloody Revolutions, aka BR, and today I'm joined by my co-hosts Hang'em Freedom, Bootlickers Beware, aka Gramps, and Empress Amin. And today we are joined by a friend with a very colourful story. Former US Army medic, turned drug dealer, turned prison inmate, and now turned Liberty podcaster, Matt from the Statist Quo. If you're unfamiliar, do yourself a favor and check out his show. It's equal parts educational, informational, and fascinating. And the best part is, for all the learning you do, listening to him is just not boring. And so many other informational podcasts just are. I genuinely think this man will be the next Scott Horton. Thanks for joining us, man. I guess all that's left to ask is, what's your story?
Well, it is truly a long story. I figured maybe we'll just hit the high points real quick, and you guys, after I hijack your show, we can go back and touch anything you want to. But it's been a very, very long process. I'm not the type of dude who learns things really at all, but especially learns things the easy way. I learn everything in my life. I always learn it the hard way. So I typically have to do things the hardest way possible. And in this case, it meant going to the military. Or joining the military, going to Iraq, coming back, doing drugs, and going to prison. And
if people aren't interested by now, there's no helping them.
I don't know what I could do for you. But it's really what brought me to libertarianism really was the anti-war movement. Because once I realized that I was an anti-war person, there's not a lot of anti-war sentiment on the left or the right, especially the right. But the anti-war movement on the left, it's just a bunch of fucking communists. So for the most part, so I knew I wasn't a communist. So I really started looking around, and I completely missed the whole Ron Paul revolution because I was deployed for the 2008 campaign and I was in prison for the 2012 campaign. So I pretty much was buried in a hole, lost to the world for both those campaigns. I completely missed out on that. So what really brought me to it was the fact that the anti-war is a huge part of the libertarian platform. In the state, what exactly that means, because you hear politicians in speeches and they'll talk about, we need to bring freedom and security to Iraq. And those are words that get put on paper, that get sent across the Atlantic Ocean. And what they translate into is force and violence and fear and misery for the local population. And just like we say, we hear politicians say, oh, well, we need to get tough on crime. And then, those are words that get written on paper that turn into laws that get turned into cops kicking in people's doors, shooting their dogs and dragging them off to prisons for possessing a substance. And they do a really good job of kind of disguising the real meaning of these things because they're layered in so many euphemisms. Like the military will call offensive operations, which is a euphemism in itself. They'll call it kinetic action. Or like the, police will call, a fucking raid on somebody's house, like tactical entry or something like that. And it's like, no, that's kicking in somebody's door with a rifle.
Yeah, but no one is better at dressing up language than the government.
Oh, absolutely, man. The military loves their euphemisms. They have euphemisms for every single thing you can think of. So,
and the media helps them too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and so I think no one is better at really just tearing apart the maliciousness of the government than someone who's seen the beast up close in two very different ways. I mean, few people have your story where you've seen both the indoctrination of the military and then just the brutal prison system that we have in this country.
What'd you go to jail for?
Possession and trafficking of drugs.
What kind of drugs?
Mostly prescription pain pills. This was back when OxyContin was still a big thing before they ruined it and made it non-abusable. But no, actually, BR, to your point, man, there is something honestly about that. But the thing is that really it's not as uncommon as people think it is. It's just that nobody really talks about it because, well, let's be honest, like going to prison is embarrassing as fuck. Yeah. So I was getting kicked out of the military. Not exactly the high points of my life, but I think that this stuff is important and people need to understand what exactly they're asking, guys in the military to do, when they go and occupy foreign countries, like what exactly that means. And people need to understand what it means when they say this should be a law. And what you're saying is that, and you guys know this, what you're saying is that you are okay with anybody who breaks this ordinance, the police using violence on them to make them comply up to and until the point of their death. So, but people don't really think like that. So,
And they're also okay with any over-escalation.
Oh, yeah.
Which they always forget about how much over-escalation there is and misuse of power. And they're like, well, we'll just make up this other law, and maybe this time there won't be any misuse of power.
Right.
Because all the other laws did such a great job of avoiding that.
Right. But what we need is just one more. That'll fix it. And, what else is funny about that, too, is that when it comes to that type of thing, at least I think it's not that, people get kind of hung up on like police tactics and stuff like that, which, yeah, that shit's immoral and it's awful and it shouldn't be happening. But it's like the larger structure is a real issue. Like the war on drugs, is why, we have so many cops that get into violent confrontations with people when it's really okay. Because, what's your average police officer doing when he pulls somebody over? He's not looking to give them a ticket for a broken taillight. No. He's looking to do what's called building a stop. Yeah, I'm sure you guys know about that shit. So what the cops are trying to do is trying to get into your car to find something they can throw you in a fucking cage for. And we shouldn't be surprised when people violently resist that.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah. I don't know what to say.
Just today, Men of Arms shared on Instagram, it was the city of Moultrie police department. Stopped someone for a broken taillight and ended up confiscating an AR, like $1,100 in cash, 2 pistols, ammunition, and by all accounts, the only crime he'd committed was driving with a broken taillight. And I don't know if there's more to this story, but from the cops' post on Facebook, their little boast with some 12-year-old looking cop standing in front of his this little collection, the only crime committed that they can list.
We got him, boys.
Yeah.
His gun permit was also pictured like right beside the gun that they confiscated.
Yeah, so that's like as law-abiding as you can get. And the guy's a broken taillight, and they're like, right, let's fuck him up.
Well, they have a law that says if you carry a gun while breaking a law, that law being the broken taillight, that it is now you are carrying a gun while breaking a law, so it escalates the whole charge against you.
Yeah, and a lot of states that's like mandatory time. A lot of times.
This was in Georgia, so I don't know what the rules are there, but pretty fucking concerning that it can be escalated over such a minor thing.
A ticket,
yeah,
to now being years in prison for your right to protect yourself.
Yeah.
They police like subvert any sort of policy changes and reforms like that. Like it's just proof that they don't just enforce the laws or don't make the laws. They just enforce them. They make it worse.
100%. And
they're douchebags.
Fuck them. Did you guys see? Did you guys see on the news the last couple of days? There was this like 70-year-old man and his daughter. He had apparently like stashed a bunch of cash in his house, and they were flying with it somewhere to go deposit in a bank or something like that. And they went through TSA at the airport, and they fucking seized it. It was like $80,000. And what was really mind blowing about that story? That woman, before she traveled with this cash, she called like somebody and made sure it was legal to travel with large amounts of cash. And it's just like that really hit me, because it's like the fact that this woman had to find out if it was legal to travel with legal tender. It kind of shows you the state of the like over fucking criminalization that happens in America, and it's nuts.
Yeah,
I wonder if that tipped them off to
Probably.
it, like if her calling.
How recent was this story? Because I remember something exactly like this happening a year or two ago.
It's America. It happens every day.
Yeah, really.
Dude, think back to like colonial like post-colonial days, and like think about like pulling up on someone's horse-drawn carriage and just being like, "No, sir, you can't have that much gold. Sorry, we're gonna have to take that."
You
This-
might be, you
This
might
is now
be,
property of the government of the United States of America.
yeah, you might have been making money off of too much whiskey.
And if you're 2 coins over, we take all of it, not the 2
Yep.
coins over.
Sorry, you thought you had to worry about the crown, but fuck the crown.
We
So
are the
the-
crown.
So this rule about moving large amounts of cash is probably an outcome of the drug war, right?
Oh, 100%, man. It's civil asset forfeiture. Happened back in the 70s. The criminal asset forfeiture was always in existence at different levels of government. Like, for example, like when I got arrested because I quote unquote committed a quote unquote crime. Not bitter at all, I swear.
Allegedly.
But when that happened, I mean, the cops pretty much, and I've told this story a billion times before, but they pretty much seized just about everything I owned. I mean, I had a badass gun collection with all kinds of nice antique, rare shit, a couple nice, modern weapons too, but like nice pieces. I had, a pretty good sized pile of cash. I had a very small amount of drugs, but I also had a dirt bike, a motorcycle, a truck, a car, a bunch of like electronics, like DVD players and an Xbox and a bunch of stuff, a humongous TV. And this was like, back when flat screen TVs were just starting to get a little less cheap. So it was like still, like a huge status symbol.
Yeah, yeah.
Then. Now everybody's got them. But yeah.
I'm sure all of this was related to the crimes you committed. Again,
Right.
Crimes in quotes.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's what's funny too, is that some of it was like stuff that, people that were real twacked out had traded me for drugs. Like speaking of which, I remember that one time, somebody came to my house, trying to get some pain pills, and I got the transaction ready to go, and dude's like, "Well, hey man, I don't have any cash." And I was like, "Well, I don't really know what you're doing here." So he says, no, I got something else for you. So I was like, okay, I'm standing there. He's like, no, it's outside. So we got back, and this dude's little Ford Ranger, the bed of it is full of cut off catalytic converters from cars. And I was just like, dude, I'm going to give you those, and you need to fucking leave and take those things somewhere else. But yeah, he'd spent all night cutting catalytic converters off cars at the dealership. That was like what done. But anyway,
no, I don't want your evidence. Fuck off.
Right? What the hell am I gonna do with these things? Take them to the junkyard?
There's platinum in those things, Carl.
Right. Only problem is when I try to go cash them in, junkyard fucking me over. But anyway, so like the point is that, I mean, yeah, some of that stuff was like, quote unquote proceeds of a crime. But I mean, especially like the guns were either all stuff I legally purchased or stuff that was hand-me-downs, like from family that I'd had for years.
That's
no, dude, like including my grandfather's Colt Python that he gave me that yeah, dude, that was, he bought that motherfucker brand new too. That was pissed about that. But anyway, the point is that they don't care where it came from. They don't have to prove any of this stuff. It's just basically a done deal. That's if you commit a crime, right? But if you are suspected of committing a crime, like, essentially the way it works, like, civil asset forfeiture, it's your property is guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, they jack your shit, and it's like not even a matter of like if you can beat. That's like this. The saying is that you can beat the rap, but can you beat the ride?
Yeah,
because like even if you can beat the case that they have against you, if they go in and they take all your shit and you have no way to facilitate your business going forward, and like your assets are gone, like you can't move anything, that what you had that you were making money off of is obviously now gone, and they're watching you, like it's a lot more difficult, and like that's the saying, you can beat the rap, but like you better have some cash that they don't know about put away, or or something, because trying to beat that shit and get your stuff back is a motherfucker. I have friends that have been through that in cannabis and licensed cannabis, and like they go in and they take everything, dude, and like whether or not you're compliant within the law or not, like they come there with the intent of doing that shit. Like they size you up. Like there's forensic accountants that are on that shit. Like they know that like that's part of a motivation for a lot of busts. Like they'll size you up and they'll see like, you know, they'll do title searches and figure out like what do they have monetarily and financially to gain by targeting specific people. And like civil asset forfeiture is just it's a fucking joke, dude. It's savage. It's a savage practice. And like, I mean, it's ridiculous that it goes on and people like don't know more about it. But it's like you don't have Fourth Amendment rights when it comes to this shit. Like,
And in how many cases do they drop the charges?
A lot of them, dude. A lot of them. Like my particular buddies, like they took vehicles, they took a fuckload of cash, they took all his guns, they killed all his plants, like, and they took all the cash, all the flour that he had, and it's just like you're fucked, dude. You know, and it's just like he was lucky he had friends that we all like, you know, we helped him out and he worked through that shit. But your average dude is fucked with that if that happens one time, you know, like you're done. Like, and they know that, and they don't even bring charges against you. Like a lot of times they don't even care because they know that they fucked you up regardless. They go in, they take all your equipment, they take all your gear, they take your you know, your nest egg, and like they'll take your properties if you're not like lawyered up. Like, and
they don't leave you the means to get lawyered up. They
No.
take everything you have.
Yeah,
Or
you
in a
better
situation like that Man of Arms that was brought up earlier, where they took $1,100, an AR, and a couple handguns. Let's say the guy never gets charged for anything, but it would cost more than the value of the property they took to win
lawyer
it back.
up and take it. Yeah.
And they know
They
that.
know that shit.
And they know that it costs you more, so you're probably just going to give up on it, and they get to keep it.
Yep.
Yeah, you just take the L, and it's so obvious what the incentive structure is here. So these motherfuckers get to keep, you know, if it's like a state charges, like state arrest, they get to keep essentially 100% of the proceeds from auctioning that shit off, you know. And every single county has a sheriff's sale where they're auctioning cars, houses, firearms, heirlooms, jewelry, like anything of value, any title property, anything like that. And it's just like, so essentially, I mean, if you're gonna strip it down, like the fucking police department in your town has an incentive to steal your shit because they get to keep it. And we think these motherfuckers ain't actually fucking thugs. Like, come on, man.
Oh yeah.
It's just,
I was just gonna say, on the note of civil asset forfeiture, it's so clearly not contributing to rehabilitation. It's actually quite the opposite. It's like you know, someone's down, so you give them a good hard kick in the ribs. Like, no, don't fucking do it again.
and what choice do they have now but to do illegal shit because you destroyed their legal path?
They're starting from nothing again.
Yeah. I mean, I tell the story all the time. I do it as like some like motivational speaker bullshit, but I got out of the joint.
Yeah. You're not a gangster unless you can start from scratch and do it all over again.
I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know about that, but I got out of the joint, pair of gray sweatpants and $75. And now, you know, I mean, I'm not super rich or nothing, but I'm surviving, I'm doing all right. And the fact of the matter is, like, you know, if I could start from nothing, like anybody can. So I always try to put a positive spin on it. But the fact of the matter is, it's like, you know, in our state where we live, like the recidivism rate is 85%. And that's one of the best rates in the entire country. So if you go to prison, you have a 1 in 9 basically chance, or you have a 9 out of 10 chance of going back within I think a year. And it's just like, how fucking clear and obvious could be that this system is completely failed if we've created just a revolving door of people that spend their lives in and out of prison. And the sad thing is, like, motherfuckers in the joint, they get used to that shit. Like, dudes will get out and they'll be like, oh man, I'll see you guys in a couple years or something like that. Kind of half joking, but like not really. Crazy.
Well, some of them are brought up in a culture where so many of their family members and people in the community have spent so much time in jail. They just know that they're going to go through the process at some point. Some people wait to get their first tattoo till they get to jail.
Mm-hmm. It's that is really something. There is actually a couple father-son pairs where I was doing time at.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, man. And like one of them, like both the father and the kid were in for murder. And most of them were like petty theft and, like, forgery and stealing stolen property, like, property crimes and stuff. But nah, like them dudes were like kind of proud about that shit. But then again, like prison as a culture is so fucking upside down and backwards from normal life. It's like, like what you did. I mean, like what you're doing time for is like a reflection of your kind of your status in a hierarchy. It's weird, man.
So what would put you like near the top? I guess being dangerous, right?
Yeah, if you had like multiple murders, if you like, felonious assault where you broke somebody's jaw or something like that, felony assault. Anybody that's got like some notoriety, like if you killed a cop or something like that, that'll put you up there too. Essentially
In this community as well.
Right. Essentially any type of violence, and of course the lowest people on the totem pole are like, child molesters, sex crimes, stuff like that.
Cholos.
Yeah. Chomos, that's right. Touchers, swiper, no swiping, that type of thing. But
Swiper, no swiping.
But
You're right there, man.
I don't know, man. It's
what is a swiper? Is that like a kid? Is like what is a swiper? Is that one? I don't know.
It's
I've
like
never heard that term.
Dora the Explorer,
Well, no, I
like
know,
the
I
kid
know,
shows.
but like, what's the? Yeah, I know Dora. But what's the
I don't.
relation?
I honestly don't know the connection, but
Okay.
people were saying it about child molesters, and everybody's laughing. Everybody
What the
joking, and
fuck?
I was just not in on it.
Okay, all right.
And obviously, it's not that widespread of a thing outside of Britain.
Well, our audience has most certainly learned something today.
There you go.
Even if they don't know what it is.
But you guys laughed though. Did the same thing I did.
There you go. It has done its job.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and it wasn't until they had established SWAT teams across the country and even to the smallest communities that they started using them for the no-knock raids and drug cause.
Yeah, and now they're used for like warrant service and shit like that. I mean, stuff that uniformed cops used to do.
To evict people out of houses and stuff, depending on the neighborhood. Like
Yeah.
if you just had a hard time and couldn't afford your mortgage and it's time for the sheriffs to evict you, they're showing up with guys in kits.
And a fucking MRAP.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Saw that on
insanity.
Twitter the other day.
Oh, for sure. There's a sheriff's department pretty close to me that has one, which is so crazy. I always tell people my thing. It's like these motherfuckers have a more heavily armored vehicle than I patrolled the streets of Baghdad in 2007. And I mean, there really is something to that kind of like the clothes make the man, right? We've all heard that. And I mean, there really is something to that when you put on your armor system and when you put your plates in and when you put on all the rest of your gear and you're doing your pre-combat checks, like you feel like a bad motherfucker. I remember the very first time I put it on an IOTV and I was like, yeah, I can like run through brick walls and shit now. Like, it makes you feel like you're super tough. And I mean, you go around, picking fights. That's really like, there is something really serious psychological that happens when you have guys that are wearing, gear that is essentially combat ready, going around picking fights in the neighborhood.
But to add to that, like I've heard you talk about before on your podcast, people in the military, they go there to fight. They're trained to fight. They're trained to go to the war.
Yeah.
And it's the same with cops. If they're training them to put on their battle gear and they're training them to drive these military vehicles, well, then they want to do that. They've been trained for it. They're excited to be able to use their training.
This is not something we need to have in fucking civilian neighborhoods in the United States, man.
Oh yeah, I mean, so we saw it with the Amber Geiger case. Amber Geiger's team, they talked about when they went out on patrols, they called them missions. Like what? It's like
Get
how
the fuck out of here.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
how fucking militarized is your mentality when you think you're patrolling I don't know, Dallas or Houston, wherever it was, like the same as you would Baghdad, like that mentality. And then there was that like I think she herself shared this meme or
Oh my gosh.
some stupid moto shit, like the Navy SEAL creed or whatever the fuck it is, like
The sheepdog.
yeah, it was like something one shot, all that fuck.
God.
Yeah,
Man, I wish I still had those. They were horrible.
yeah, it was like typical moto brovet kind of shit. But for some like I mean, she was like in a specialized team, but all the same, like they've got this soldier mentality rather than peacekeepers. They view themselves as operators, you know. And we see that so much the way they like, I mean, even gear companies, the bootlicking types, the way they advertise this gear to regular cops, you know, it's just this totally militarized culture now. So it's no wonder we have guys go around in plate carriers, you know, to respond to little kids at a park with airsoft guns. It's like big shocker when the kid gets fucking shot.
For sure. And it's like, yeah, dude, like Amber Geiger was not patrolling fucking city. I mean, like, get the fuck out of here. But seriously, there actually is something to that. I have kind of a theory on that. Is part of it, I believe, is because the war on terror has been going on for, you know, damn near 20 years now, right? And there's guys get out. Okay, so if you're in combat arms, right, if you're an infantry guy or you're a tank or whatever, you get out, you have two jobs: male stripper or cop. And no, but so be serious, like you have no job skills. So so many of those guys go and becomes cops. Like out of my platoon, 4 of the dudes that I served the military with, they all became cops. And I can't help but wonder if the military culture bleeds over to cops because these guys are kind of taking it with them. Because it doesn't matter like how long you've been out, you always have, you know, I mean, even just like the basic stuff, like certain mannerisms and whatnot, you know, I mean, like, I'm not saying like, you know, you get up and you put hospital corners on your bed, you make your bed. No, but like, seriously, as far as, you know, when you're doing similar ish type jobs, when you're using force on people, I mean, you're going to take a lot of that stuff with you. And it's just, I think that's a huge part of it too. Also, we've seen like the rise of like kind of tactical companies over the last 10 years or so. So where we have all this gear available now that wasn't, I mean, like PMags came out in what, like 07, and that like really marked the floodgates of all the stuff that was mass marketed. And also too, I mean, you know, the other thing, you know, like the Empire always comes home. I say it all the fucking time.
Em did a great post on that, showing the side-by-side comparisons of people like kicking in doors in Iraq and Afghanistan, and then same thing with police kicking in doors at home, and it looks fucking identical apart from the police name tape on the back, you know?
Oh, that's crazy. But yeah, look at all the gear and equipment. So, I mean, you know, part of it's ACUs, just utility, but also like MRAPs, heavy weapons, like not crew serve weapons, but as far as actually some of them, I think they do give out some crew serve weapons. But as far as like, you know, some departments get M4s and, you know, like M24s, like the DMR rifles and stuff like that. And then drones is another thing, all the surveillance, like we have this intelligence-based policing, what it's called, right? And of course, in the military, intelligence means this is our best guess based on available information. So that's all intelligence means, of course. Now, oh damn, that is a good fucking meme. But depressing too. But yeah, there is fuck it. It needs to be said. But there is something about that where they have essentially like all of the military industrial complex kind of gear and then doctrine and training. It all comes from the DoD and the war on terror. That's like, you know, they 9/11 happened and they just exploited the hell out of it and had, you know, magic gas and haven't turned back.
As they say, 1984 wasn't an instruction manual.
Right.
Try telling that to the people of the Pentagon, they're fucking salivating. Like, sweet, we can really bump this control up.
Oh yeah. Also, speaking of which, there was an article I read on. There's this dude. He's a podcaster. He's libertarian. It's called Everyday Samurai. And the guy was like former cop and former military. He had this really great article on there. It said how military flag officers, like general officers, threaten liberty, and had this great post about how these you know, general officers, like in the DoD, like you're talking about, they get out and they get into politics and they get into the, bureaucracy in like civilian world and shit like that. And
Mhm.
they really like control, or they want to control people. Like so many of these major, like, big time generals, like David Petraeus and Stanley McChrystal, two big fucking losers who nobody should listen to on anything. They lost 2 fucking wars. But besides that, they were, these dudes are like, they're in gun control organizations. Like they're both part of Vets for Gun Reform. What the fuck?
No. They're protecting our freedoms,
Right.
as they have always done.
Yeah, I was protecting the Constitution in Iraq. But the thing was, I could never, dude, as hard as I looked, I could never.
It cut off right there.
Well, as hard as I looked over there, I could never. They just must have hit him really.
Cut off again.
Freedoms. He's looking for freedoms and he didn't find them.
What the hell's wrong with my damn mic? You guys hear me okay now?
Yeah. I think it might be connection. Not sure.
Weird. But yeah, point stands.
I wish you would have found our freedoms over there, bro.
I know, dude.
You'd be cooler if you did.
I know. But it's funny too. The Iraqis over there, don't need a background check to get an AK-47.
I'm so jealous.
I know, right?
You ever seen that Vice video on the gun market?
Oh, I think I have, where they go to Pakistan.
Yeah. It's one of the older ones, and they're just walking through the street and they're just making shit in their garage. I mean, I'm sure it's not top notch by any means, but
No.
I mean, Jesus Christ, I don't care.
Right. Most of the weapons we saw in Iraq were Turkish origin. And then they were usually pretty old and beat up and shitty. And like, some of these guys have like their stocks held on with duct tape and shit like that. I mean, it's pretty rough. But
Hey,
it is
still living the dream. No background check.
fuck yeah, man. Access to explosives, like shit. Like,
Oh hell yeah.
Gosh.
I'd probably be living somewhat like not too far away from how we thought Bin Laden was living for years on end. Just being
In
in
a
a fucking
cave?
cave. Yeah, in a cave, RPGs leant up against the wall, just I don't know, probably wearing a towel, who knows.
Fucking living
you're
the
sleeping on
dream, you mean?
it.
Living the dream.
Hell yes.
I
Making
was
vague threats to authority.
I was told by some of the Iraqi soldiers Iraqi army I worked with that apparently when Saddam's regime fell, they just left the gates to the armories open, and like motherfuckers were like backing up to the fucking like shell house, and they were just like grabbing handfuls, or obviously one at a time, but they were grabbing like tons of 155 artillery shells and just throwing them in the back of their trucks and driving off with them. It's like, damn, man.
Get them while they're hot.
Right.
Maybe that's not the best phrasing.
Gosh.
So we talked about ending up off topic. How the fuck did we find ourselves here?
Oh, we're way off topic.
That's a long and winding road.
Way off. We started with his origin story and got
It's
like
all relevant.
3 minutes into it. Oh yeah, totally relevant.
Big
It's a
surprise. Big
Relevant
surprise.
rabbit hole. How do we get back on topic?
If we didn't tell people we were off topic, they wouldn't even know.
Yeah. Keep going. Keep going.
What was your first introduction into libertarianism?
Oh, that's funny.
That's a good-
I read For a New Liberty when I was in prison, actually. And
Okay.
and you know how I said I learned things the hard way? It just bounced off my thick skull, and I was like, oh, this is an interesting book, and I put it back. I was like a total fucking
Not
NPC
life-changing.
right winger. Oh yeah, it was like a total NPC right winger status, and it was so fucking dense, like the arguments couldn't even penetrate me. It was just whoa. I swear I didn't get penetrated in prison, guys. Anyway.
All right. Odd that you bring it up freely.
Yeah, right. That's a Freudian slip.
Did the person have Rothbard books, or did someone send that to you?
Nah, they had them actually. It was basically all the old books, and so that's how that ended up in there. But
Okay.
no, they had actually. Oh god, they had a bunch of like. They had like a whole shelf full of like military and war books, and so I read like Dick Marchenko novel that they had there, and like all this other bullshit. And then pretty much everything else was just like garbage. I mean, they're all old and beat up, and you know, bindings falling off, and of course, you know, like the book falls into pieces, and you return it, and they're like, "We're gonna charge you for that." And
Oh,
it's like,
fuck off.
right. This book was
Oh,
printed in
racket.
1951. Like, yeah.
Printed in 1951. It's the first edition. Fuck off.
Right.
Prorate it down. I got your 2 cents.
But
Oh.
yeah, there's not much selection at all.
Well, I mean, to your credit, at least you could read. Shout out to Jared from Biting the Bullet.
I was born to lead, not read.
Sorry, buddy, but that most recent episode was painful.
Well, that's a
Oh,
requirement in the Army. Marines, not so much.
They give them crayons and hope they can draw, maybe.
I mean, they're just happy if they don't eat them. No taking gear.
That was a low one, but you know, I had to do it to him. So I guess you said you were a proper right winger even up until prison. So when did it first click? Like I take it once you got out. Was there someone that talked to you about it, or?
You know, it's a good question, man, because it was such a long process. When I got out of the military, like before I got out, I mean, I guess we'll address this too. So after we got back from deployment, I was cool for quite a few months. And then we got orders. We were going to be deploying in about 8 months time from this point in the story. And I mean, I was starting to have a lot of problems sleeping, and I was having anger problems. I was, anxious. I was irritable. I was oversleeping. I was having to like sprint down and fucking go do PT in the morning, be late for that. I'd be late for formation sometimes. I mean, I was falling apart. I had no idea why, because this is still pretty early in the war. Like, we really didn't know as a culture much about PTSD. Now, like, if you went through the military now, like most of the guys in there will have some inkling of what PTSD is, but I never even heard of the word before.
That's insane.
And long story short,
this recently in time that it was that. I mean, I had like my first panic attack in like I think 2013. And I went to like a fully modern hospital, and they thought I was having like a lung collapse, because I guess mental health is such a new thing to most medical professionals. Like, we don't realize it now because it's unfortunately culture's so oversaturated with talk about mental health. But even as far as 10 years ago, people didn't have a fucking clue. So I'm sure when you were dealing with this, it was similar, if not worse, in the military.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Well, of course, like even like you said, there should be like a confluence between mental health and physical health, but there's not really like a holistic approach to these things. It's kind of like they're two separate disciplines, and they have a little bit of crossover. But obviously, your fucking brain is part of your body, so of course there's going to be some crossover there. But the funny thing, I mean, the military, dude. If anybody ever advocates for socialized healthcare, I challenge them to go to the military, have a problem, and go to fucking sick call, and then tell me if you want it. Because they're going to do one of three things. They're going to give you Motrin, which is what the medic would have given you. They're going to tell you to come back in 2 weeks, or they're going to tell you you're fine. That is like the common arc here. And then, I mean, like, you see the same doctor like 4 or 5 times in a row, and the dude still doesn't even remember your fucking name. Like, they have, I saw so many times, like, people got shitty care or no care. Like, they reduced a fucking first sergeant to tears, like over his medical care. I mean, just like, grown ass man's probably never cried in his fucking life, and he's just like so frustrated he's in tears. I mean, it's completely fucked. So that was like one of the things that kind of led me in this direction, was like people advocating for single payer healthcare. And I was like, oh fuck no. The first visit I had at the VA, when I finally was able to go, I had to explain to my counselor what an MTBI was. So it's like, this is okay. So military medicine is somewhat specialized because you're dealing with a mostly young, mostly healthy population that mostly sustains traumatic injuries and like physical injuries, like sports injuries. It's like sports medicine mixed with ballistics, and that's about it. So I understand if like your average family doctor doesn't know much about MTBIs, but your counselor at the VA should at least have gotten a piece of paper at some point in time, like, hey, watch out for this thing, this. No, that's not what happens. So anyway, oh my God, where was I even? Okay. Oh yeah.
Hold on. What is an MTBI?
Like a
It stands
concussion,
for,
right?
yeah, an MTBI is a minor traumatic brain injury. So
Had one of those.
yeah, right. Yeah, for sure. A lot of people have. TBI is like when what you think of as like an actual concussion. So a lot of times, I mean, sometimes people get knocked out, sometimes they don't, but they'll have like nausea, vomiting, confusion, fainting sometimes, pupil dilation one side to the other. It's incorrect. But, an MTBI often has like very little symptoms, if any. So people get them, from all kinds of things. And one of the things that you can get them in the military from is the normal operation of crew serve weapons. So like your Mark 19, 50 cal, 240 mortars, all these weapons can actually, the blast wave from the rounds they fire is so powerful that you can get MTBIs from them just from firing them like normal, like you're supposed to. Yeah, and then of course the military still has no way to, mitigate this type of thing. And I just remember like we'd have range days where we do crew serve range day. So you go just down the line, you fire the saw, fire 240, fire 50 cal, fire Mark 19. I mean, it was fun as shit, but like at the end of the day, I would just have like number one, a pounding headache, and number two, I'd feel sick to my stomach like 2 or 3 days afterwards.
Which isn't how a man should feel after firing a crew serve weapon.
No, you should be rock hard, man. I mean,
like for longer than 4 hours.
Call doctor. But anyway, so like, let me try to get back on track here because I derailed.
Oh, we don't do on track. Sorry.
So I was, I had started using prescription pain pills in the military, and eventually I started getting them illegally. And I got busted because somebody else had stolen some medication from our secure drug storage because I was a medical unit. So they snatched up all the enlisted guys in the medical unit. They drug tested us all. I happened to fail. I got kicked out. I drifted for a little while. God, what was even the libertarianism? Okay. Jeez.
Well remembered.
You drifted for a while.
I know. Oh God, you guys gotta grab me and pull me back into shore or something and throw me out.
No, you're fine. Just keep going.
So what I think, number one, it was being anti-war and like kind of understanding, like, I just remember so many, looking back on my, dealing with PTSD kind of gave me a really bad taste in my mouth for the military in general and how they had treated me. So that kind of got the blinders off about how the troops are so great and I should cry for the flag and stand for it and, like all that shit. So that was that part of it. And, like the blind nationalism, I was pretty much done with that. And the other thing was I looked it back over like my deployment, and there was like just all these things that just didn't add up or were complete bullshit or maybe feel bad or things like that. Cause I remember one of the things that we would do if we were not busy is they would grab a PA and a couple of the line medics, and they would set up like a little informal clinic for the civilians because so much of the hospital infrastructure network were destroyed. The doctors had fled the town. The doctors had fled the country, so on and so forth. So there was really very little access to medical care. So we would go through and we would do what we could to treat injuries and illnesses. And I mean, a lot of it was like giving vaccinations and stuff like that. But I just remember like looking, at the line of people and just remembering like, these people have nothing. A lot of them aren't even eating. Like they're, a lot of them, like, teeth are fucked up. And like, I just remember seeing like these kids had these just horrific fucking birth defects. And, every now and then, you would see somebody that had come to Baghdad from Fallujah or, to Crete, these places. and they would have these humongous sections of skin that were like a crater. It was like a, just like their skin was like, it was white phosphorus burns is what they, and I remember looking back on that. I felt so horrible that I had taken part in that. And I mean, yeah, I was able to do like a little bit of good, but what I fucking came here are doing. And that never sat right with me. I just, that was just one of many, but that was like one really when you deal with people up close and personal and you're not just staring at them through the fucking window of your truck while you're sitting in the back seat, but like when you're like face to face with them and talking to an interpreter. And like, there was multiple times that, people had told us like things were better under Saddam Hussein. Like things were better under this torturous, murderous, fucking brutal dictator that drove around and shot people with a fucking Beretta M9, and things were better under him. So that really hit me really hard. And like, I just remember like all the other things, like they told us like we were going over there to fight these evil terrorists that attacked America. So I was expecting like some big fucking buff dudes and like balaclavas and like full fucking battle rattle, combat armor, fucking, with a PKM or something.
Like Rambo bad guys.
Yeah. But no, you're fighting like skinny people that haven't eaten a good meal a week that are fucking wielding a homemade AK and throwing fucking grenades at you that are from the Soviet era in the fucking 1960s. So like, it was just such like, like some of the dudes that some of the motherfuckers was wearing jersey while they were fucking shooting at us. Like, it was a joke, but there's just so many things like that that's really started to add up. And I finally kind of said like, what, fuck this shit. Like, why are we over there? Like, we need to come back. And like, the other thing too, we never had any clue what our mission was, what we were supposed to do, like what our task and purpose was. We had no fucking clue. We were just doing what we were told to because we were told to do it. There was never any clear intent. There was never anything that we understood. We were just basically kind of chilling, occupying this place. I mean, they had counterinsurgency, going on then, but it was just
patrol until you get shot at.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was. And it was basically like, so we're supposed to like be nice to the civilians and they're going to like us because we're really nice to them. They're going to like us more than the people that fucking live here. Like that was basically the kind of the idea. So it was fucking ridiculous.
They can't hate good American boys.
So
that seemed to be a pretty common thing, like with all of these like libertarian veteran podcasts that are popping up. All of them kind of say that they didn't really have a mission, or I guess they didn't know their mission.
Yeah.
Well, with the Afghan papers, it proved that no one ever had a mission. And
right.
To find a mission, they just threw money at it and lives at it. And still never found a mission. We're still going.
I mean, in Iraq, there was at least like some structure there because there was a functioning government. But I mean, what them motherfuckers was doing, like when I was there, the militias and shit were kicking all the Sunnis out of Baghdad, and we got caught up in the middle of that shit. And I didn't know it at the time, but like I witnessed the ethnic cleansing of Baghdad essentially. And yeah, I mean, like sometimes these fucking Iraqi army dudes that we worked with would get real fucking rough. Like we would do coordinated knock missions. Basically, coordinated knock is a euphemism for block off an area and kicking everybody's doors in it and looking for weapons and shit like that. And we were like, when we would have these missions where we paired up with the Iraqis, which wasn't all the time, thankfully, they were supposed to take the lead. So we would just kind of hang back and we're supposed to like provide security for them and advise them. And they would go through, sometimes we would go through neighborhoods and they would like, fucking steal people's shit, like kick people out of their houses, like, dragging old women out by their hair and shit like that. And just like, fucked up shit. And, the militias were another thing too. The militias that were all around, like I had no clue who was who. And like so much of this stuff that I know is from seeing this shit and then having to study it later. Like if I would have never read up on any of this stuff, I would have never been able to tell you what I just did because I would have had no clue. I would just thought that, sometimes these guys had a bad day and they just took it on the civilian population, but no, there was so much more of it than that. And, at least in Iraq, like there was some type of kind of visible plan that the regular enlisted guys could see. Like eventually we were going to hand control this place over to the government in Baghdad and then leave. Now, of course, that wasn't the U.S.'s actual plan, but that's what it appeared to be to us, at least. That's what they told us. At the grand strategy level. But yeah, there was that, and which led me to become anti-war, and I was just embarrassed about it for a long time. I honestly felt like a real big fucking weirdo, because back then, 2000, 2009, 2010, around then, that time, if you were a veteran, you were pro-war, everybody was. And for you to even kind of try to broach that topic with other vets, to be like, hey man, maybe we should just go home. There's nothing to do over there. Fuck bin Laden, because I don't think they caught him yet at that point. But that was
2011, I think.
Yeah, I think it was that too. But yeah, and it was impossible to talk to people like that. So I really felt like I was just a fucking weirdo. And then once I gotten home, I gotten, into drugs, and I really started having severe symptoms of PTSD. And plus, I do believe that there's this thing called bad paper trauma. I was discharged with bad paper, which basically means an administrative separation or an other than honorable discharge. And basically what that means is that, your battalion commander can just kick you out just because he feels like it. And he can, he can have cause, which is really not much. That they can kick you out for surprisingly little. And,
Wow.
and that's pretty much it. You just have to fucking take it. And if you were discharged with bad paper, it's almost like you fucking, you didn't do anything at all. It doesn't count for shit. Cause you're not eligible for VA. You can apply for healthcare, but it's very limited. It's only what you can get. It's anything that's service connected, like injuries, you can get treated, but that's pretty much it. But you can't get the VA home loans. You can't get the license plates and the stamp on your license and all that other fucking happy horse shit. That
it's like a felony charge, but with benefits in quotation marks.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's not like people think it's like a dishonorable. Not the same thing. Dishonorable discharges are usually given out in military prison for what's a felony under UCMJ. But this administrative separation allows them to kick people out without actually having to charge them with the crime and convict them. So it's something battalion commanders do use to kick out people that cause them problems. And I've seen guys get diagnosed with mental health problems that they didn't actually have, and then get kicked out for what they call a personality disorder. So there's all kinds of fucking shit that it's fucked up. But anyway, basically what the military is saying at that point, saying that you have no honor. And if you're a statist still that really cares about that type of stuff, that is fucking crushing.
Oh, that will split your soul.
Oh, also too, yeah. And the other thing too is we have this shame culture in the military. If you bring kind of disrepute or bad attention, negative attention onto the unit, you're a piece of shit. And so part of it's collective punishment. We do group punishment. Everybody gets smoked if somebody fucks up or something like that. But they do so much to create unit cohesion that if you screw that up, you're a piece of shit. And as soon as I got busted, all my friends, the best friends I had in the whole fucking world, they basically all acted like I had AIDS. Airborne fucking AIDS, and they're gonna catch it. I mean, they literally were it's cold shoulder, fuck you. So that shit's it's basically, I don't want to go on this too long, but basically it's they strip you of your identity, because being a soldier, especially when you're you're a kid still and you haven't really done anything with your life other than the military, that is almost your complete identity. That's who you are. So when that gets taken away from somebody, in a way that they weren't expecting, I mean, it is traumatic. So, I had that on top of dealing with post-traumatic stress. I self-medicated with drugs, mostly opiates, pain pills at first, and heroin. And then I had gotten arrested, and I was thinking after this, well, fuck, man. Part of it was that I felt victim. I really did. I felt victimized. I served my country. I fought and defended my country. I defended the Constitution, and now I'm being victimized because I eventually figured out the point that I was dealing with PTSD. And it was only after I got locked up and I was in this incarcerated veterans So we had at the prison I was at, they had like a group for vets in there, incarcerated veterans organization. And one of the guys there was a Gulf War vet, and him and I had kind of talked about the problems I was having. He's like, dude, you have post-traumatic stress disorder. Like that's what and I was like, oh, what's that?
Oh, yeah, that's a different problem entirely.
Right. And anyway, but the thing was like, I felt like I was being victimized for, for self-medicating essentially.
How long of a time from the time you were discharged till you went to prison?
It was a little under a year and a half. So it was about 15 months or so.
Okay.
And let's see, where was I? So that was one of the other things that like I was like, oh man, if they really support the troops and if we're so great and they care about us so much, like why am I sitting in this fucking prison with all these other vets? Like, so that was bullshit. And then the other thing was like, I've always been a big gun and firearms enthusiast. That was always my thing. And of course, if you have a felony conviction, well, guess what? You are disenfranchised from owning weapons. So once I got into prison, and then like I realized like I can't own a gun. Not that I let that stop me, but because fuck that. But once I realized like I can't go to the store and buy a gun, like anytime I go to the range, like I have a shoulder. This is fucking bullshit. So I started. That was like the last straw right there. And I started asking people that I just want to listen to the podcast. I did our podcast today. Like I was talking, with this fucking dude I work with, Boomer. And he, I was, his kid was in the military and I was kind of talking about that with him for a little bit. He'd asked me a question about something. And I kind of said real casually, like, yeah, man, it's, it's pretty bullshit that they had no problem handing me a rifle and everybody cheered when I stepped on that plane to go to Iraq. But now if I want to have a gun, it's like, I'm not allowed to. So I got a question then, like, what's the difference between me then and me now? And of course he said, well, the law is the law. But
oh my, yeah, you're the guys to tell that to.
Right. Yeah. It's like, motherfucker, you'd be supporting slavery in 1850. Fuck you. But no, seriously though, it's like, I've always asked that. I always pose that question to people and nobody can ever give me an answer. And that's what really, I was like, that's when I realized like this whole thing's a fucking sham.
That's tough to hear from a guy you work with in that, like, you're like, oh,
who knows your character?
He's always nice to me. And this is how he thinks about me that, well, I broke a law one time. So now I'm less than him, even though, this dude fucking, I see his work ethic. I see he's a piece of shit, but he's looking down on me because at one time the government says I did something wrong.
Yeah, it's completely fucking. And another thing too is that it's like dealing with that stigma is extremely frustrating, honestly. And the thing is, like, you can't get around it because most employers these days, at work especially, most employers these days do background checks. And I don't tell people I was in the military usually, just because it leads to a lot of stupid fucking questions I don't want to answer. And the other, I obviously I don't tell people I went to prison either for the same reason. So of course, whenever you get a job, you have to get a background check, and they always find out about both of them. So it's just like, you can't fucking hide that shit.
So which one do you want to talk about first?
Right, pretty much, exactly. So it's like everybody I work with knows that I'm a convicted felon, and they know most people know I've been in the military too. I don't volunteer that, but every time that like they do this fucking thing, one of my friends, like every time we get somebody new there that was a veteran, they'll kind of like, they'll like drag them out to me like, hey, veteran, why don't you guys talk and meet? You guys probably knew each other in the years.
Oh my gosh.
And it's always like some fucking boomer fucking Navy vets or something that I've got nothing in common with whatsoever.
Yeah, so how'd that indoctrination teacher treat you?
Right.
Fucking
man. But yeah, dude, after that, it was just, I don't know. I started getting my entry into libertarianism itself was actually Jason Stapleton, believe it or not.
What?
He's in Stapleton?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Back when he was, back when he was.
That was very judgy.
Okay.
What?
All right. I deserve it. I deserve
I
it.
thought he said Jason Statham. I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is gonna be a story.
Yeah, man. It was Stapleton way back in the day, and especially because he was relatable. You know, he was and shit. But yeah, man. After that, I found all the big time podcasts. I started reading a lot of literature. I reread For New Liberty, and it actually made sense this time.
Got the right brain to plug into it this time.
Right. Yeah, it was. I don't know. It's just like people ask me all the time about one point, like when you decide you're a libertarian. I can't really give you one. There's so many.
Yeah, it's for a lot. Like for some people, it's like a trip and fall right down to the bottom right of the political compass, and then for some people, it's just like a rabbit hole. They keep on. Oh, there's more back here. Holy shit! It'll happen over like years. They'll be like, "Well, I was a conservative, and now I don't think there should be any government, and I don't know how that happened."
Yeah,
so it's like completely understandable. It's hard to nail quite the the snap.
It really is.
I mean, your story though, like, it's just like everything we hate about government into one person's story.
God,
that one person had to live through it. It's like Jesus Christ. And thankfully you're articulate enough to help other people learn from your experiences, because a lot of people who go through this kind of thing, they wouldn't know how to. They wouldn't even realize quite how fucked the situation is. They just sort of have an attitude of, well, serve my time. They just quietly get on with it, as you said, because it's a hell of a thing to talk about.
I totally mean that as a reflection of the government, not you, by the way.
There's one thing I'm a man of my own actions. Like, okay, yes, I put myself in this position. Okay. Yes, these laws are unjust in the world, but they still fucking exist. I'm not saying that they should exist, of course, or anything like that. I'm saying we should burn the entire thing to the fucking ground. But that said, the thing is that I am largely my own worst enemy. I did do this to myself. But the thing is like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's like a forest and the trees thing. It's like I'm standing so close to it. When you're so close to a situation, it's almost like you can't see it yourself. Mm-hmm. And it took years of kind of retrospect for me to finally really put it all together in a way that I could really understand all these effects of all these things on my own life. And another thing too, of course, is that there are plenty of people that kind of experienced similar things. They just don't really talk about them because it is embarrassing. Part of the reason that I do is so people kind of understand that just because somebody is in one of these government systems, either one of them, that doesn't necessarily say anything about their character or anything like that. Like it's completely unexpected. Like and it's funny is that the military is made up of about 50% fucking morons, 30% good people, and probably 20% scumbags. And prison's about the same ratio, maybe a little bit more scumbags, depending on where you are. If you're in a higher security, probably more, but kind of like the medium security prisons, there's plenty of people in there that, they just did something fucking stupid. Like, I don't know. I just, kind of want people to understand that.
Were you in like a medium security? Like, did you have your own cell, or were you in more of a bunk type, like 30 people to a pod kind of thing?
Oh, here's a good story then for you.
must have been a group in that case.
So I was in both. So when I rode out to prison, I went to CRC, Correctional Reception Center, which is up near the state capital here. And CRC is like where you go to get sorted. Well, when I got arrested, right, I had some Air Force Ones on my feet. And like Ohio allows you to bring certain types of street shoes into the prison, because like when you're in prison, you're not wearing like jail scrubs and Crocs like you are a lot of places. Now you're wearing like prison blues, button up shirt and pants, like regular pants, and then tennis shoes or boots or whatever you have. So I was wearing those shoes. They allowed me to bring them in, and like, but a bunch of people would try to offer to like buy them off me. When I was going through the reception center, but I was like, nah, I'm keeping them. So we went to rec one day, like outside rec to the yard there, and I had gotten back in my cell and I kind of sat down. So the CO comes to the door, and this fucking bitch is like, hey, get out, get your hands on the wall right now. So we get out, we put our hands on the wall, we get pat down. They go in the cell, come back out a minute or two later and say, so you know what you did? I said, what are you talking about? I said, in your air vent, we found a big old shank in there that was made for a sticking, is what she said. So they found this like foot-long piece of metal poker in the air vent in my cell. And I immediately protested. I was like, well, that's not mine, shit ain't mine. And she's like, yeah, bullshit, whatever. And I'm pretty sure that one of the porters, like the guys that work outside the cells, like in the cell house, like cleaning up and shit, I'm pretty sure one of them planted it in there when we were gone in order to get my shoes. So because like when I got sent to the hole, like I didn't have my shoes on. When I got my property back later, they were not in there. So I'm pretty sure one of those motherfuckers set me up to get my shoes. So anyway, I go to the hole, right? And the hole there, segregation, it's not solitary. It's like two men to a cell. It's got a shower in it, but like the bottom range, like the bottom floor cells in segregation, like the drains don't work. So what happens is, and like the air vents are all fucked up. So when you take a shower, basically your cell turns into a sauna. And like the condensation does not, I bet you motherfuckers probably get pneumonia for being in there for a long time. Cause it's like just constant fucking moisture. Like it's disgusting. And
no,
like
they do. Yeah,
yeah,
they definitely get, and then they get horrible care for it.
Oh yeah, dude. It's like the only worst care I've seen in the military was in prison. And it's just the same. The only difference is in prison, like the fucking nurses have a little shittier act. But anyway, so long story short is I did 4 in segregation, and they changed my security rating from medium to level 3, which is called close. And I guess it stands for close to maximum or something like that. But basically, I got sent to RCI, Roscoe Institution, which is funny enough, about 5 minutes, if that, walk from the VA I go to now. So every time I go to the VA, I have to drive by the cocksucker, which is
nice.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I don't go very often, probably at all. If I do go, yeah, it's like, yeah, I always give a middle finger to that entire fucking place. But anyway, so I spent like my first year there, and that's like the big kids playground. That's like them motherfuckers play for keeps there. Like that's where you have like real deal criminals, gangbangers, actual gangs, stabbings just about every day, fights constantly. Motherfuckers get life flighted out of there. Oh yeah, that place is live.
Did you say sweet?
I'll tell you that much.
I'm British. Everything I say is sarcasm, for the record.
I managed to survive my first year there, and I was like coming off of fucking hard drugs. I was skinny and strung out. So of course I started working out like crazy to try to put some weight on me. But yeah, I survived that first year there without, just some fist fights and shit like that. And of course, like when you go for your security review, this is how broke. When you go for your security review, like when they go to like change your security classification, which they do like periodically, like every year, if you don't have any tickets, like any violations at all, they're suspicious and they won't change your security. But if you have like a couple fist fights or like a couple minor infractions, they'll usually lower your security because they know the system is so broken. Is if you don't get caught for anything, you're definitely doing something really wrong.
You're more dangerous because you know how to avoid getting in trouble.
Pretty much. But if you're like, yeah, but if
that
you're like,
is a level of corruption that is fucking ridiculous. That is just accepted by the bureaucrats that, well, you didn't do anything wrong, so you're doing something super wrong.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like, there's so many corrupt fucking like COs that are bringing drugs in and cell phones, tobacco for inmates. Like, I don't know. I never had a hookup like that. Like
when you were in, were you guys trading? Was tobacco still allowed, or was your monetary system goodies?
It was stamps, envelopes, and ramen noodles. The tobacco was gone like a year. So,
okay.
I mean, there was still plenty of cigarettes and shit around. like, but it was all contraband. So yeah, mostly your currency was like phone time, phone cards, you know, and food and stuff like that. So, what was I gonna say is that, oh yeah, like the only kind of thing that I had going for me is that because I was in the military, so many of the COs are also another place. Guys get out of the military and they get jobs as fucking correction system, which is not good for anybody because,
Right.
you know, yeah, inmates get institutionalized there, but so do COs. They end up with the same type of behavior, same type of attitudes. They use the same vernacular. Like, it's funny is that like the COs will talk like prison inmates and they'll fucking act like them too. So it's not a good place for anybody, period.
Mhm.
And, like, there's like, you know, plenty of abuses and shit too, plenty of physical violence from COs. Every now and then you'll get one that'll actually like fight you like one-on-one, like let you shoot the ones with them. Like, there's but most of them they call in the you know, the thugs and have 20 motherfuckers come in and beat you down. And I mean, like, there's riots and shit when I got a face full of pepper spray one time. I got hit with some of those pepper ball paintballs another time. Like, I was walking to the fucking library to return a book, and you know, this motherfucker runs up, yells, "Get on the ground!" So I drop the book and I start getting on the ground, and he just fucking tags me 4 times in the chest with fucking OC balls, and you know, that shit's awful too. Like, you know, my I've got like snot like running down my nose, like touching the ground is.
And you messed up the book. You get
yeah.
charged for that.
Did you ever feel like
Fuck.
COs tried to cause tension between the inmates
Ooh,
because it made their job easier?
they do
Like,
it.
as long as you guys were fighting amongst each other, then you weren't worried about them.
They do it for fun, actually.
Okay.
They do
Of course they
start
do.
shit between different groups of inmates, but it's for their entertainment. Because I mean, their job is they could ignore everything going on in the cell house for their 8-hour shift and everything will be fine. I mean, the place mostly runs itself. And it's funny is that even in this statist, you know, authoritarian, totalitarian government structure, there's an entire other hierarchy that has nothing at all to do with them. And there's an entire underground economy. Like, there's there's any kind of service you can think of, like, that you know, like, you can get a blowjob, you know, you can get a tattoo, like, hey, you can get whatever. I mean, all this stuff exists like outside of their sphere of control. Even with all this authoritarian, totalitarian control, they still can't keep weapons out of the place either. You know, that's the other thing. Like,
Supposedly the most secure environment on the planet.
right.
Did you have a jailhouse?
Hey, so good luck. Yeah, I got one.
Nice. I got a buddy who was a tattooist in the joint, and he has the sweetest fucking
In the joint.
jailhouse. He was able to take it with him when he left. Like, the nicest fucking jailhouse. It was like carved out of wood,
Oh, hell yeah.
guitar string.
How the fuck did you
Back
get away
then
with
it was
that?
the Walkman motor.
Yep, still is.
All right.
The CD players, the Sony Discman. They've been trying to get rid of it, but when I was in prison, that's what they were using, was the CD players. And a guitar string and a pen tube. Yep. But
Yep.
yeah, I did get one, man. I wanted the tattoo. I owed me some money, and dude, just want a tattoo? And I was like, yeah, sure, yeah, whatever. So, anyway, like, yeah, like the COs literally, one trick they would love to pull. Okay, here's a good example, is that they would go into your, like, when I was in the medium security place, basically, it's just like a warehouse for people. I mean, literally and physically, that's what it is. So the bays, it's almost like basic training, where there's just 2 rows of bunk beds and a wall, like a low wall, and then another 2 rows of bunk beds and a low wall, and then another 2 rows of bunk beds and low. There's like this giant fucking warehouse, essentially. It's very similar to temporary barracks in the military, with less storage space though. But anyway, so what they would do if they wanted to start some shit, they would go through and like toss your stuff, like they would search it, and they would not be nice about it. They would, like, you know, toss your fucking mattress like in the air. It would land up in the other fucking, like, the other street, which was like the, you know, the rows in between the bunk beds. They dump all your shit out, you know, dump out your coffee, like just destroy everything you have. And then they would question your bunkie, right? They would make it look like he had done something wrong. That's why your stuff was getting searched. So then what they would expect you to do is to fight each other. And if you didn't fight each other, they'd come back the next day and do the exact same thing. So they would use this to provoke fights between inmates. And so it's like, if they come up and tear your shit up, it's like, hey man, we got to go do this. So you guys go out in the bathroom, scrap it out, and whoever wins, whoever doesn't gets their ass beat. And then you get left alone by the COs. But they do that. They would start shit. Like they would like spread rumors about inmates. Like if they found anybody that was like a child molester, they'd always tell us, and we always go beat the hell out of them. That's one of the, I honestly don't really feel too bad about that anymore. But they
you shouldn't like,
yeah,
throwing a punch in the face to a child molester, that should make you feel good.
Yeah, I really don't feel too bad about that.
I mean, there's no Netflix in there, so.
Right. But yeah, all you get is like TV from the 50s. It's fucking mind-numbingly boring. But anyway, it's just, they would literally cause chaos just to make their fucking lives entertaining, because they're locked up too, honestly, and they're just as fucking bored as you are. It's really kind of weird. But then one time those guys overdid it and they started a riot. It was pretty nuts. I got a front row seat for these guys. Basically, they started like some shit between the Gangster Disciples, which is like one of the gangs in there, mostly black dudes, and then one of the Mexican gangs. I think it was I can't remember. I don't want to fuck it up. But anyway, so one of the dudes, this black dude was on the phone, like one of these like guys in this gang. So the Mexican dude just walks right up on him with a padlock and a sock, and just starts wailing on the guy and like cracks him in the head real good 3 or 4 times. Dude gets slumped, and then it turns into like a fucking battle royale of like 40 dudes like fighting and punching it out. So what do? They just fucking douse the entire room in pepper spray.
No.
Like, and they have these like fire extinguisher size like fucking cans of pepper spray. And this is not like, the shit you get in a little keychain, from the gun store that your girlfriend carries. No, this is like the fucking bear mace, like, shit they use in Gaza against the fucking Palestinians type fucking pepper spray. So of course, we all can't breathe and shit. So they locked down that cell. They locked down our fucking cell house for a day. The next day we go out, get let in the yard, and there's like a huge fucking melee. There's probably about 1,000 people like fighting down there, man. And like and I was just trying to stay out of it, because I'm like, I've got like, oh yeah, dude, I've got like 8 months at this point. So I'm just trying to go home alive. Like I've got enough. Like I got sliced pretty good when I was in there. This motherfucker tried to stab me, try to kill me. I'd had stitches in my head multiple times at this point. Like I was done. So basically I was just trying to chill, walking away from all this shit, and some motherfucker comes up behind me and just bam, punches me in the back of the fucking head as hard as he could. So yeah, so I get into scrap with this dude, and of course, out of all the people fighting, the COs, when they run out to break this shit up, they make a beeline for us. So I was like on top of this dude. I was just punching him in the fucking head. I was in a mount just punching him. So this fucking like 300-pound CO comes and tackles me and like lands, like knocks me off the guy and like lands on me. I like cannot fucking breathe at this point. And of course, like if you touch these people at all when they're assaulting you, you'll get another 18 months mandatory.
My God.
Assault of a DRC officer is another 18 months mandatory. And if you poke them or touch them at all, they consider that assault. They're the biggest fucking snowflakes on the planet. So anyway, I just have my hands up and I'm just like, well, either this guy's going to crush me to death or yeah. So anyway, that's like one of the many experiences.
And you're just trying to fucking serve your time. You got 8 months, man. You see the end.
Yeah, for real. Like you can't.
Yeah, and you just got to take an assault and like, come on, dude, I'm trying to get out of here.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Now, when you finished, did you do your time or were you on parole?
Well, I got lucky, kind of, sort of. The last 6, they used to have a program in here that was for vets. And like if you were in the military, they had a program that you could spend your last 6 months at a halfway house.
You've already served your time before you went in.
But that's almost a set up. Like those halfway houses are like
they're a joke.
Not set up to make people. They're set up to make people fail.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, like the people that work there really try to do the best they can, but the problem is the way that the system is, they really can't do that much. This halfway house, it was like a program. It was at the VA actually, at the VA down there, and there was a halfway house that was for mostly military guys. That's like the program was specifically reserved for them, but there was like a handful of other people that weren't in the military there too. But anyway, it was like, yeah, this place basically they're supposed to help you get a job and save money so when you get out, you can get a house, place to live. That's kind of the whole point. But the problem was like they didn't have any relationships with employers to get jobs. So if you were going to get a job, you had to go and get it yourself. And you had to take the bus, right? The bus quit running at 7 p.m. So, you had to make sure that you were off work like before like 5 o'clock so you could catch a bus back there. That was
In
only
the jobs you're getting being in a halfway house are not normal baker's hours.
No, you're working fast food and
They're
shit.
Taco Bell fucking
Oh, dude.
4 in the morning.
That's exactly where I worked.
But those are the people that are hiring people that work in a halfway house. So it's a system set up to make you fail and put you back into the system.
Yeah, I had to beg for that job too. That lady was like, well, we've had like a lot of bad experiences hiring guys, like, basically like begging for this minimum wage bullshit fast food job. Like, this is my life now. But I haven't killed myself yet. And if I was going to do it, I should have done it a long time ago.
You
so
would have
didn't have to put up with
Taco
this bullshit.
Bell. You would have done it at Taco Bell.
Right.
And you know what? Do it at the beginning of your shift. Because if you do it at the end of your shift, that's depressing that you worked the whole shift at Taco Bell before you killed yourself.
And they had to pay you for the time you were there too.
Yeah, your minimum wage. And the government got half of that.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. You're like, I'm going to kill myself after the government just made fucking $30.
Right. That's what's crazy, man. Also, too, yeah, they make you pay to be in the halfway house. Like, they take 30% of your check most places.
Oh, they make it sound like it's a privilege for you to be there.
Yeah. It's
And
bullshit. I mean,
some of those people in the halfway house, I knew a girl that was in a halfway house, and she's like, dude, they're like, now, like, I went from a woman's prison to a halfway house. Now the halfway house has a bunch of weirdos that are there, like sexual predators and stuff that they're letting out. And she's like, I would have rather just done my time in the woman's prison than go to the halfway house. And she actually bailed from it.
Yeah, I don't blame her. And that's just it, because it sucks. Like, you get like a little taste of freedom and the food's a little better, but that's really, but that's pretty much it. Like, you still are in prison, technically. You're on lockdown constantly. Like, they still can search your belongings. I mean, it's really not that different. But like, the thing is, like, these places, they're so poorly resourced and staffed that they literally pretty much can't do shit. And I remember they make you do like this mandatory counseling. And they had this course. It was called Thinking for a Change. And it was hilarious too. Is actually one of the girls I went to high school with was doing her fucking internship there when I was at the halfway house. So she had to pretend she had to, and she was like kind of big in high school, but I was always really nice to her. So, and like at this point, like I had been in prison for 2.5 years and I'm just like desperate to just like fuck anyone I can. So I was,
oh no.
So I see her, right? And I'm like, yes, I'm in there. And she's like lost some weight. She's looking good now. And she had to pretend like she didn't know me so she didn't lose her fucking job. So I'm just like, once again, super disappointed. Like, yeah, this is not happening. Like this chick's like, yeah, acts like she doesn't know me. So I was like, fuck. But yeah, shit was super awkward and super fucking weird. But anyway, the point is that like we had to do this class. It was called Thinking for a Change. And basically we have like a bunch of like grown men, mostly. Like there's a mixture, right? Halfway houses aren't just guys from prison. That's like a measure of some of them. But some of these guys, like their probation officers will send them there, or the court will send them there for whatever. So we got like this mix of dudes, right? And they make us do this class where we have to like role play like difficult situations. And it's like we have to like get up there and act like fucking, it's so cringe. It's awful. I'm sure you guys can imagine, like, the situation is your friend Bill owes you $20. He doesn't have it. What do you do? Hey, Bill, where is my $20? Oh, I don't have it. Oh, now stop. This is your think point. This is where you have to think about your decision. Like the counselor cuts in and you're like, oh, that's okay. Can you give it to me next week? And it's just like, it's like, I just sit there the whole time. Like, I want to kill myself. I want to kill myself. I want to kill myself.
Was it super patronizing? Like, good job. You didn't smash that fucking head in. Like, that's the correct thing to do.
Oh yeah. It's uber patronizing.
Fuck.
Now, anger is emotion that people feel, but it's not okay to act on that feeling. Sometimes you need to take a walk or think happy thoughts or do yoga. Like it's awful.
Like the same way you teach a 6-year-old.
It's government sponsored counseling. Of course it's garbage.
Oh god.
I don't know, guys. It was super cringe, and it was every single fucking person hated it. So it didn't do anybody any good. And this tragic thing was like some of the people that worked there like really actually cared about the guys that came through there, and they really wanted to do good for them, but they physically couldn't because of the way it was set up. And there were so many people that either ran away, didn't come back, or like, I mean, like pretty much everybody, like when they give you like a path, go somewhere, like you have to turn in an itinerary if you're going to go anywhere. They have to keep track of you basically at all times. And like, you know, we'd always go off itinerary and like go do whatever we can, like go try to like meet girls or get fucking beer or weed or whatever. Spice, like K2 was a big thing. Guys are smoking it then too. And I smoked that shit once and I thought I was going to die. It was awful.
It's almost a setup for failure. Like they love to keep you in the system, and they tell you, oh, we'll let you out 6 months early if you just go. We'll give you a little bit of freedom,
enough rope to hang yourself with.
Exactly, just so you can get right back into the system. Just at that point, it's like, hey, should I just do another 3 months and then be free?
Yeah, I mean, for real, as long as you can avoid extra charges, like, but you know, that's the thing is like if you are in there and you run away, if you go from prison and you run away, like it's an extra fucking was it 9 months?
Or you happen to be caught in a riot and some guy punches you in the back of the head.
Yeah.
And you get tackled by someone. You don't know what's going on because you're concussed at this point. And you do something to one of the guards and now you got 18 months.
Yeah, and it's like guys all the time, like the COs would run in to break up a fight, and then you know somebody puts their hand. If you're in a fight, hand on you to like you know to break you up. It's a human reaction to spin around and fucking like you know at least like put your hands up and like if you touch them like 18 months happen all the time.
Gotta fight your survival instincts.
Right.
Speaking of breaks. Did you ever make a break?
Oh man, I haven't heard that in a long time.
What was the best break you ever had?
Well, the way you do it, right, is you got to get your ramen noodles, of course, first, but you got to fry them. Like, you know, you don't put any water in it, right? You break them up, don't put any water in, then you put the seasoning pack in, right? Stuff that in the microwave 2 or 3 minutes, and once they're like super, super hot, then you put a little water on them, right? And then that's how you fry them up. Like they'll actually get fried. They're way better that way. So you do that. That's your bottom layer. And then you got mac and cheese. And then you got the whole shebang, right? The fucking potato chips that had like the everything potato chips. Since you said break, I'm assuming you know whole shebangs.
I do not know the whole shebang. I haven't heard that.
Hang 'em, buddy. Okay.
Almost
so
a culture.
Whole shebangs are like these potato chips. Because like the contractors that sell stuff with the commentary, all this cheap like knockoff off-brand shit.
Oh
like,
yeah. It's just the worst.
The shaving cream had some football player on it that I'd never even before, and I was like a huge football fan back then. Like I knew they had some like fucking dude from the 70s who was like a backup fullback for like the fucking Green Bay Packers scout team or something like that. And this motherfucker's on a shaving cream tube. But anyway,
I just knew that guy was like, I got a sponsorship.
Right. It's like, oh no, men are probably jerking off to my picture on the shaving cream thing in prison.
It's something.
Yeah, I let down. But anyway, so that's funny. We didn't get to is like all the similarities between the military. There's quite a few, but anyway, so they have these potato chips. They're called the whole shebangs. They're like everything seasoning. Anyway, that's your layer, whole shebangs. Then you got summer sausage. You go toss that in the microwave, make it nice and crispy. Throw it in there. Hot pickle, cut up on that, and then you have your ranch and a little barbecue, and you're done.
Literally does not sound good at all.
I know, but once you've eaten nothing but dog shit, it tastes good.
Yeah, like the food there is like the worst.
Oh, dude,
like,
yeah.
People, if you don't have commissary, like there's people in there that are old and they have no family or anything, and no one's sending anything, and they're just living off the state, and that is like
that's misery.
Misery.
I used to, it's funny is that I worked in the kitchen. I was a baker, so I made like all the cookies and cakes and pies and shit like that. So I had access to brown sugar and tomato paste. So the guy that made the jailhouse wine, the hooch, which is so funny because hooch to me is like the place you live. Like that's what we call it in the military. So like whenever I hear that, it's just like that's what I think of. But anyway, so the guy was making the jailhouse wine. He used to pay me to smuggle the shit out. So I would steal like pounds and pounds and pounds of both of these. And every now and then I would have the tomato paste burst in my pants. So I would have like this red trail like dripping down my fucking thigh because you have to stuff it in your underwear to get out of the chow hall. So anyway, and I had like a whole system. Like I had the guy that fixed my clothes sew me in a pocket like a kangaroo. So like it's like I had a pocket in my special pocket in my pants for stealing shit out of the kitchen.
So you got to.
Yeah. The free market.
You got to run some kind of scam in there, some kind of business.
Yep. And what is that teaching people? Like, that's not fucking
life skills.
Right, exactly. But the wrong ones.
Yeah.
Fuckers go back. But
entrepreneurialism.
Exactly. But yeah, the market will provide. But I mean, for real though, if motherfuckers could like take all that ingenuity of like making tattoo guns and like lighting cigarettes off of sockets and stuff like that, if they could take that ingenuity and apply it to something positive, nobody would ever go back because there's some super smart dudes in there that do some super smart stuff.
They will make anything out of nothing.
For real. Guys would like unravel the thread in the state issue pants to have thread to, I mean, and like tattoo guns are a pretty obvious one. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Hot plates out of like they would make a hot plate out of spare electronics. Like amazing.
I heard of a shotgun shell being made out of a shaving cream can, a bunch of matchsticks, and just like some shrapnel.
Damn, that's a good one.
that was back when you could still do the smoking and like matches were cool and everything like that.
Right. Man, that's a good one. Damn. But
these are the guys that would survive the apocalypse. Like no fucking doubt.
For sure, especially because a lot of them have no morals, have no problem with murdering people and eating
that
them.
helps.
But yeah. But here. Anyway, so the thing is like, oh shit. I'll tell you last guys, what were we even talking about? Oh, fuck.
Ingenuity.
Totally lost. Ingenuity, but before that we were talking about
oh Jesus Christ. We're like five topics deep establishing a topic to talk about. So at this point, it's a free for all.
Right. Here, I got it now. Okay. So the thing was like I would get paid like very handsomely for making sure the wine guy could make his. So I didn't have to want for anything. Like I had a TV, I had a CD player, MP3 player, like all the clothes I wanted. Like I was set. So what I would do, right, is I would see people like that, and because like I'm not like I know I've been to prison. Like I'm like a nice, like caring person by nature. That's why I was a medic, because I wanted to help people. Like that's why I kind of went in that field in the first place. So I would always try to look out for dudes that didn't have anything at all. So dudes that were like kind of sitting there like in their state clothes, like when it's 105 degrees in the jailhouse, cell house, I always be like, here, bro, have some soups, have some stamps, write somebody, like here's this, just being cool. But of course, in prison, like if you show any type of weakness, if you show any type of kindness, people think it is weakness and they'll try to take advantage of you. So you get all these predatory motherfuckers that just try to like extort you and steal from you, or like try to force you to give them money and shit, or they'll beat your ass. Like, so that shit's, was pretty much constant, like after a while. So what I learned is that like, you can't do acts of kindness for people in the joint. You just can't, because other people will see it and they'll come down on you like vultures. So anyway, it's just like, so what happens is that, these dudes that don't have shit, like got to fend for themselves.
And that'll change your personality.
It did. It really did.
Very far from rehabilitation. I mean, it's training you to be a completely different person. I mean, a perfectly empathetic, caring person suddenly realizes they can't be that way, which is like one of the best traits a person can have, in my opinion, and you're robbing them of that by, not quite indoctrination, but what's the word?
Conditioning, yes. But it's like
completely changing who they are fundamentally.
Yeah, and getting fucking yeeted by a CO will do it too, man. Like, that I got my ass kicked quite a few times by COs too. And it's just like, then it's like, these are people that are supposed to protect you, but you realize that they're the most dangerous fucking predators in the whole fucking prison, because they can kill you if they want to. And
sometimes they're doing it just for fun, just for entertainment.
Oh, for sure. But the thing was like, the effects, I don't know what it had on me. I mean, it definitely made me really angry for a while, but
understandably,
it's like a bit of a paradox. There's like the effects of the system versus like my kind of internal reaction. Like, prison is probably the worst place in the world for somebody with PTSD, honestly.
Oh yeah.
You're in a high stress environment with actual predators that
real danger.
Yeah, will take your cheeks if you're not careful. No, I'm just kidding. But that's one thing. Like, people actually don't get raped like that often.
Do you believe the prison system helps further the state's agenda to divide us as far as race?
I'd say almost certainly. I don't know if that's like actual intent, but the fact of the matter is, like, everybody clicks up on racial lines pretty much for the most part. And I mean, like, people will cross them. It's not like it's a hard line, but people will cross them, for business or whatever. But most people usually kick it with their own racial group, for the most part. But in like the lower security prison, it's like by cities, So like people from Cincinnati, they'll all kick it together. People from Cleveland, they'll all kick it together. People from, like other places, they'll kind of click up. But, I was going to say, I wanted to come back to this real quick about like the effects that happen, if you guys don't mind.
Oh, sure.
Part of it is like, it is a dehumanizing process. Like, you're referred to by a number. You're it's like military, like, you go to brigade, you're treated like a violent animal. They lock you in a cage, right? If you're passing staff members in the hall, you have to like stop, like, and like, get on the wall and like, fucking let them pass. Basically, like, they'll strip search you. They don't trust you to be let out of your sight. It does a lot of damage to, I think, an individual person. Like, it gives you this internal guilt. And really, I think the biggest thing for me is it completely fucking wrecked my self-confidence. And
did what?
It completely wrecked my self-confidence. Like, I don't, it killed my sense of confidence I had, because I used to be like, oh, I was in the military. I deployed to Iraq. I can do anything, right? And then like prison, basically, because they essentially break you down until you can't do anything by yourself. And I think that learned helplessness kind of transfers over to when guys get out. And also, like, the culture in prison, like, they have this idea. It's like, it's like I call it the get over culture. Like, it's looked on positively if you can get over on people. Like if you can extort people, you can bully them. If you can like, because everything you see is a game. Like motherfuckers are always running games and playing tricks on people and like trying to scam people out of shit. So you learn not to trust anybody at all. And I mean, it did make me a far more callous and probably a more violent person. I mean, it's one thing to get to train people to kill for the state. It's another to, you know, to hurt people because you enjoy it or because
for personal gain rather than for the dressed up ideas of, you know, defending country and freedom and shit. It's just straight up, this is for personal gain.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, in a way also, though, it did make me more compassionate and resilient as a person. Like, because, like, look, you know, you can knock me down 1,000 fucking times. I'll keep getting back up with a smile on my face. And the other thing, too, is that it made me realize just how precious life and your natural human rights are and how they're worth fighting for. Like, you don't know how precious something is until you lose it. So, I mean, and also, you know, the other thing too is it made me really see how those Iraqis felt when we would detain them and force them up against the wall in their house and on their knees, and how, you know, we would send them off to be tortured. We would smash their doors at 4:00 in the morning. Like I'd spent a year being the oppressor and now I was the oppressed. And that's when I kind of realized, like, what have I done?
Yeah, that's a heavy fucking realization.
I don't, you know, man, I don't think it was a good experience for me. I don't think
but, or anybody.
Both, you know, helped me really open my eyes to how the world really is. And, you know, we can talk about flags and the rule of law, democracy and all this happy horse shit, but the reality of this stuff is really fucking ugly. So, yeah, man.
it's a log no one wants to, you know, pick up and look under, but I mean, what's under there is really important when you see how this system affects individuals and cultures on such a deep level, and just how much damage it does.
For sure. It doesn't, I don't think most people go to the military or to prison and actually come out a better person. I mean, some people do, sure, but I think that's mostly the minority.
Well, I think it has something to do with our society, with being the largest prison population and the world's military.
Yeah.
That might reflect on that, you know, like.
I think so. I think that, I mean, also if you just like look at the stigma, you know, from both, honestly, because like, I'll tell you what, a couple jobs I've had like post military life, you know, people find out you're a vet. I got pissed off one day and like I threw a wrench in the shop and I hit like a wall with it. And I looked around and like everybody's fucking staring at me. And I just went like, chill out, guys. I'm not going to bring a fucking shotgun to work tomorrow. Just relax. Like, you know? But you get that kind of like, oh, you're a ticking time bomb that's just going to blow at any time. Like I have definitely for some of my friends that are vets, you know, I've been at the place I'm at now for a while, so I don't get that shit so much anymore. But there's that. And also it's like, there's also the stigma of being a former fucking convict. Like that is a real thing. And I cannot tell you how many times that I've applied for a job or applied for an apartment or a house or whatever. And the interview goes great until I'm like, hey, one thing I got to tell you, I've been to prison for drugs. And people are just like, oh no, I can't rent you. It's crazy.
Terrible.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, you thought I was a lovely guy like 2 minutes ago. What happened?
Right. And now I told you, I've been to this place and now you think I'm, you know, I'm a piece of shit or something. It's crazy.
It's like justice shouldn't mean like your life is over. It should mean that your life's beginning. And once you do your time, it just, I mean, obviously I think that you shouldn't have to do time in prison, but once you do your time, it should just all be gone.
Yeah, you'd think so, but
clean
unfortunately
slate.
in this country, it really doesn't make any sense, does it? Because if you go to prison to be rehabilitated, then they let you out. That means you're rehabilitated. But if the thing is, like, if you don't have all your rights back and recognized as a prison, then what they're saying is that you're too dangerous to do X, Y, or Z. And but if that's the case, then why the fuck did they let you out in the first place? Why didn't they just put a fucking bullet in your head? Like,
many systems within the criminal justice system are like that too.
Yeah.
It's like plea deals versus like taking it to court. You take a plea.
Gosh.
You do something, you take a plea, and get out in 7 years, but you take it to court, they have the whole trial tax thing, and it's like, oh, well, now it's 60 years that you have to go, even though we were willing to settle for 7.
They push that so hard in the court system, and they put fear in you that, oh, you want to take it to court and you don't want to take our plea? Well, we're going to put this on you, and we'll put this on you. And they totally make it about trying to plea out so they can just put you in the system. They don't want you to have actual justice.
Yeah, I think that honestly, I think plea bargains are unconstitutional. I think they should be illegal. Absolutely. Every case the state wants to bring, they should take it to trial and have to that, flat out. And if then people say, oh, well, it crashed the system. Okay, that's because there's too many fucking laws. But you really do. You do 2 sentences when you get like convicted of a crime. You do your time, and then you do a life sentence as a convicted felon. And I mean, I've been trying to reverse that, but it's taken me years and thousands of fucking dollars in lawyers. And I've had to fight for it every step of the way. And I've kind of realized, like, at the end of this, like, they're never going to stop fucking with it. It's always going to be like this, which, hey, it's fine. I'm a fucking fighter. I'll get over it and I'll fucking win because I'm a fucking winner. But it's not the point. The point is that, like, there's a lot of people that don't have, a positive attitude, that don't have ability like I'm fortunate enough to have,
Absolutely.
So
sometimes it helps having people stand behind you. A lot of people don't have that, especially getting out of prison or sometimes out of the military.
Yeah. And, I pretty much didn't. I mean, I mostly did this stuff on my own, and if would have had a support system, it would have been a million times easier. That much. So I don't know, guys.
We have some questions for you. You've answered like most of them, but some of them.
Let's hit it.
Okay.
All right, we need a light one. Find us a light one.
Okay.
Fifi.
Yes.
Let's see. Starfreak74 wants you to know that you're his hero. So.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, I had a couple of those that were just like, tell him, like, send my love, tell him he's great, tell him he's my hero.
I didn't know this, but you have a massive fan base on Instagram now.
Well, that's thanks to you guys.
Set up over that.
Somebody wants to know, it's Jared, wants to know, are you a mongoose enthusiast or just enthusiastic about the mongoose?
Well, I thought I was a mongoose. So option C.
No, he'll listen to this. What do you want to tell him?
Tell him I love you. I love you, Jared.
I'm going to edit that out and make it say something horrible.
She screenshots on fucking messages like Angela will make like an ironic sexist joke and Willow will like it, like, and then she'll just take a fucking screenshot of it. And it's like, I'm gonna blackmail all of you. It's like, fuck. That would be a really killer one. Like, we would be.
I had to unlike that one so I could take the screenshot too.
Yeah, we'd be in the shit worse than fucking Terran Tactical.
Jared would be if I didn't edit out something from the Christmas episode.
Oh fuck yeah. Let's leave it at that one. Let's people to guess at what that might be. So here's a good question. I've been wondering this myself because I've had 2 concussions, like pretty minor ones. My memory is fucking shot. I mean, I'm sure you went through some shit in prison, in the military, and all the abuse your body's probably suffered through. How the fuck do you retain so much information? Like, I don't know if you have like an encyclopedia of notes for every show and guest appearance, or if it's just tucked away in there. But it's incredible how you just pull shit up, like your history and stuff.
I have a system. Oh,
okay.
Everything is organized and written down in categories. I have like and anytime I have a good thought or like a smart thought, like my personal history, I can remember. But as far as like information and like stuff we talk about in the show and whatnot, like I have to write it all down. So every time like I have like a smart thought about something, I go on my phone and I type it up immediately so I don't fucking forget it. Because otherwise, like I have the same problem with you, dude. Like I have, like I'll be talking and I just like kind of like forgot what I was even talking about in the first place, and I was blank. Like, yeah, man,
Mid run.
yeah, for real.
These fuckers laugh at me. Memory damage is real, kids.
Oh fuck yeah, it is. I mean, you know, like I've gotten in plenty of fist fights in prison, lost quite a few of them too. But
Yeah, that shit sucks.
we got like in Iraq. I mean, like our tour like wasn't as terrible as many of them are over there, especially for the time we were over there. We were pretty fucking lucky. Honestly, we had mostly a fairly chill sector. We got, you know, we did get hit with a few IEDs, mostly just got rattled. We had an EFP that blew off the front axle of our truck. And that one, I remember rung my bell pretty good, but we never our truck never took a direct hit, luckily enough. So any, you know, kind of concussion, like blast injury I had was minor compared to a lot of guys.
Still.
But I do worry, honestly, though, about my health and stuff. Cause like, you know, I've talked about the burn pits over there. They just burn everything and anything. Like, dude, before we got porta-johns, we were using wag bags, which basically a wag bag is like this little kind of Mylar bag, and you take a shit in it, and then you fold. It's got like pool chemicals in the bottom of it, and then you fold it up and seal it up. So we toss all these in a pile, and somebody that pulled the detail would have to soak them in diesel fuel and set them on fire, or kerosene, actually. Sorry. So like, this is how we dispose of these things, and we're burning all these nasty fucking chemicals. I do worry someday rare fucking weird cancer or heavy metal poisoning or some shit like that.
It won't even be rare. It'll be like the whole asbestos thing and the
9/11 first responder disease.
God, I hope not. Yeah.
Sorry, we just like got super horrible there.
Like, oh fuck!
I'm like,
yeah, we started.
We were like,
let's
look,
lighten it up a bit.
I was just thinking, sorry, go ahead.
I'm like a dark storm cloud, and this is just what happens whenever I come on serious.
Whatever. Like, I'm super worried, and Hangam and I were just like, yeah, like here are like 30 examples of things you could get.
Well, if I die early, you guys gotta memorialize me.
Oh fuck yeah, we'll do something. We'll
rip in peace.
Rip in peace.
Do you have any advice for today's generation?
Oh man, yeah. Yes. Learn a trade. Don't go to
That's what I say.
College. There's tons of great jobs in carpentry and plumbing, auto repair, and like, you know, technical skills like that. Like, fuck college. If you want to go and fuck the military too. Don't go to the military. Don't go to prison.
Not even for Boogaloo training?
Oh God.
I think that you could probably spend your own money and get something just as good, if not better, than going to the military. Because for what you get in the military, you got to put up with a lot of bullshit. And honestly, like for my MOS, the amount of tactical training I got was minimal. Most of it I learned on the fly. We used to run like, you know, we had the MOUT site, what's called Military Operations in Urban Terrain, which is like basically like a little fake village on the outside of Fort Hood. We go there and train. And I think I did cleared houses twice the whole time I was there. Most of the time I did what I do on deployment, which is sit in the truck and sergeant. That's like, these guys are smashing the doors and I'm sitting in the fucking truck watching them and making fun of them when they can't kick them in the first time. But seriously, like, honestly though, like, yeah, I mean, for what I got, it was pretty minimal. You know, certainly did pick up a few things, learn a few things. And, you know, I mean, like I did learn shit from going on deployment too, but honestly, you could probably take 10 grand, spend that money here and get something just as good, if not better.
Oh Christ, 10 grand in training, you'd be doing pretty well, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the good shit's kind of expensive, you know, like $2,000 for like 2 days. You go talk to someone like Aaron Baruga, like from Guerrilla Approach, or like, you know, some of the other companies. They like, it's pricey, but it's definitely worth it.
But yeah, we've had Biting the Bullet, Whiskey, and now yourself all say like, learn a fucking trade, don't join the military. Jesus Christ.
Sound advice.
I agree.
We tell these kids like damn near every other day, but we're still gonna get some fucking shit kicking comment saying,
yep,
Is it? No. My brother went in. It's worth it. He spent like 3 days on the range.
Right. Oh, for sure, dude. There's so many fucking people in the military. They shoot like once a dude. I was in the combat arms unit. We went to the range about twice a month. That's it. And half the time, dude, we'd see the first 2 fucking hours we were there, or 3 or 4. We'd be waiting for these couple dickheads that couldn't figure out how to zero their fucking rifles before we could all start. And like, it's a joke. Like you're firing from a static position at static targets 9 times out of 10. We did fucking simunition training one time. That was by far the best training I had. Now that was like post deployment. So like, I didn't really give a fuck because I thought I was hot shit at that point. Cause I'm like, yeah, bitch, I got a combat patch. Fuck you. It's on my right shoulder sleeve. How about that? You don't have one, you fucking pussy. And of course they instill that culture in you. But anyway, so the point here is that people talk about training in the military like instantly. I know they have no clue what the fuck they're talking about because it's mostly shit. I spent a lot of my free time reading medical and surgical textbooks so I could get like a leg up on shit. And like so I would go for morning formation, right? We go get talked at for a little while, and then I'd be like, all right, guys, see you later. So I'd go over to my medical unit where like, cause in the Army, the medics are not actually part of the infantry units they're attached to. They're actually part of a medical platoon. So that's your actual command. You're just basically on temporary attachment to these guys. So in garrison, I would go and do my thing. And sometimes I would get like missions and I would be able to learn stuff. And then sometimes they would make me like just do range watch. Right. So they have to have a field ambulance at the range with a couple medics in case somebody shoots themselves or shoots somebody or something, which happens not quite a bit, but it does happen, like negligent discharges are very fucking common. Probably because they treat you like a fucking toddler, like if they actually made you like, you cannot decouple authority, accountability, and responsibility. Like they all have to go together. But if you try to decouple those things, shit gets all fucked up. So anyway, the point here is that the training is not what you think it is. And honestly, with the amount of misery you're going to have to put yourself through, unless you really, I usually don't try to discourage people, like individuals, from going to the military, but I want to make sure that they have their eyes open when they go, so they're not surprised. So I always tell people, listen, you're going to be controlled. Everything you do, or everywhere you go, what you wear, when you wake up, you are going to be controlled by complete fucking morons that know nothing. And the only reason that they have any power over you is because they went to college and they got a degree in English. So that's that's number one. Number two, there's a pretty good chance that you lied to you about your MOS. If you even get to do what you picked, chances are pretty good that you're not going to actually be able to do the job that you signed up for, because you're going to be too busy cleaning and buffing and rearranging connexes and doing gear layouts and motor pool maintenance and shit like that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's not what you think it is. It basically is what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah. And the disturbing thing about when our followers, so-called Boogaloo boys are like, I want to sign up for the military. It's like, you call yourself an anarchist, right? Or like even a libertarian. It's like pretty fucking disturbing that you'd want to go sign up to be a shock trooper for the government, the same one that you're so opposed and so like they say I want to get training so I can fight them. It's like signing up to be a stormtrooper so then you can join the rebellion.
It doesn't work like that. And there's just, it shows you like how fucking deep that indoctrination runs. I mean, it's beaten into our heads subconsciously, consciously, through movies, through media, through everything. It's just there all the fucking time. So like it is, I mean, I understand the impulse, because like there's kind of this suggestion in our culture that like, oh, if you don't join the military, you're pussy, which is obviously fucking garbage, but that's like kind of the implication. And I mean, there is a lot of pressure on young men to go do it, especially like, where if I'm from like a small town, right, where there's literally fucking no jobs and nothing to do there. So if you want to make anything of yourself at all, you got to get out. And if you're not going to go to college, you got to go to the military. That's your only two choices. So I do kind of understand the impulse, but At the same time, you're not getting anything valuable, and there's a pretty good chance that they have complete control of you for a couple of years. There's a pretty good chance they're going to turn you away from what you thought you were going to do and towards what they want you to do. And like stormtroopers, like they get indoctrinated, in Star Wars, and the military does the same fucking thing. So there's a pretty good chance you're to come out crying for the flag and holding your hand over your heart for the Pledge of Allegiance. Fucking bullshit. So I don't buy it. I don't think it's a good idea for anybody. But if you want to do it, I'm not going to stop you. But don't come crying to me when you tell me how much it sucks. Matter of fact, this dude I used to work for, his kid who I used to work with, just joined the military not too long ago, and I tried to talk him out. I really did. And he was all gung-ho about doing it, and he goes to basic training, and then he goes to AIT, or A school, whatever the Navy calls it. And he comes back, and he's wearing his Class A's, or their dress uniform, and he's all fucking, I'm Mr. America. I'm so cool. Look at me. And then he goes to the military, like he goes to his duty station, right? And he calls me like a couple months later. He's like, bro, this sucks. And I was like, what did I tell you, stupid fuck? You're he was like scraping paint off of ships and like cleaning the rust off. I'm like, I told you, dude. I told you exactly what you was going to be doing. You didn't believe me.
Yeah, I've had my Instagram for like a year now. So I've been like on joining the military. And so now I've got like easily 20 plus people who, they were like, no, fuck off. I'm still going to join. I want the training. It's what I believe in, blah, blah, blah. I want to be a warrior. And so I'm like, okay, dude, go enjoy being a warrior as you sit through endless rape seminars. But,
yeah, that'll make you.
Yeah, sure enough, I get messages, man, you were right. Oh, fuck, I really fucked up. And now I got like 3.5 years left of this. I'm like, dude, the fuck did I tell you? Like, I mean, it's not just me. I'll share, biting the bullet all the time, whiskey, just all these other, people with ties to the military and shit who know what it's all about. And sure enough, no one fucking listens. Everyone thinks they're smarter than people who've lived it. And what do you know?
Yep. I mean,
people know that shit.
Yeah, but think about how many people's opinions have changed. Think of how many people you've reached out to that have listened and decided, hey, you know what? I'm not gonna join.
No, that is
listen to you.
That is the
I get a lot
side.
of that too. I get it both ways.
I get negative here, Hang'em.
Yeah, fuck you. I want to end this thing on a negative note.
Right.
God,
don't fuck with my storm cloud, dude.
Fuck off with your sunshine. We do angry rants about cops, the military, and taxes here.
Totally on brand.
Yeah.
But no, in fairness, there have been probably 100 plus people who said, no, I went and learned a trade. My friend, he decided to stay in and joined up, and my life is so much fucking better. I can decide where I live, what I wear. If I have a fucking beard, I can keep my gun on me. I can carry my gun.
You can maintain it. Yeah, you can actually take care of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, dude, that's another thing too. Fucking weaponry you're issued is fucking garbage.
Wait, AR is meant to rattle?
About that. I had the forward assist on mine popped off when I was firing it when I was still in. The entire fucking button, the clip, the pin, everything just poof gone when I was firing. I was like, the fuck? Like
yeah.
And then I mean like the Berettas too. I used to think the M9s were such the sights are junk. Yeah. You build the snowman. The worst side. Why would the fuck would anybody put half a fucking dot? I get really mad about this shit, but that shit like
no, it's fine.
That'll give you the spicy nostalgia right there. Is this fucking sight system? Anyway, I mean, like if you jostled it a little bit, it would go out of battery. Like even just the lightest fucking like little shake. So of course, if you're walking with it on a drop holster, it'll go out of battery, no problem. Fucking that stupid ass, uneven, weird fucking trigger pull. The decocker is garbage. Like they want you to carry it they want you to carry it on safe. So your first, so not only do you have to trip that, your first trigger fucking double action, which is stupid. Yeah, terrible. So somebody turns that in, the next guy gets it, and he's sitting there wondering why, like, it's such a piece of fucking junk. That's why. That's why socialism's bad, guys. Fucking, that's why you need private property.
Fucking lowest bidder.
Yeah,
Can you
'cause
imagine the kind of shit if we had like a fully every single man had to like build his own rifle and bring it out with him, you know, the shit we'd be seeing. I mean,
Hell yeah.
there'd be a lot of non-functional shit, but the ones
Oh,
that
for
did
sure.
work would be top notch.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of broken and cracked up receivers for
A
sure.
lot of fucking PSA knocking around.
Hell yeah.
Oh Christ.
We'd like to note that our following respected you enough to, for the first time ever, not ask that cat girls and fox things, you know,
Really? That's the first time?
with
Well,
the question,
fucking,
you know?
I'm curious.
Fucking Gramps asked him. Oh, so usually we get this. God damn it! Now we have to ask him. Fuck's sake, Amp. What is
You don't have to ask him. You could just tell him the question, and if he answers it, that's on him.
this
What?
is
I don't
worse than
even
the Christmas
remember it.
episode.
Fox something?
Yeah, let's skip past that.
I'll tell you. On principle, I'll tell you off there.
So I would say we're pretty much wrapping this one up.
Yeah.
Matt, please
What's
take
up?
the time to plug everything that you do.
Certainly. Okay. So if you want to talk to me, Matt, I'm the host of the Statist Quo podcast. We talk about war and peace, libertarianism. We talk about rights, gun rights, especially gun control, big subject to ours. We do a lot of history, a little bit of politics, but not so much like red, blue, left, right. We talk mostly about government. But anyway, if you want to find our show, it's on just about every major podcatcher, the Statist Quo podcast. If it's on a podcast, if it's not on a podcatcher and you want it on there, you just hit us up. You can find me at Twitter at Statist Quo Pod. You can shoot me an email, thestatistquo@gmail.com. And our website is thestatistquo.net. That's home base. That's where you find all of our blog posts and articles, including our medical stuff. Pretty soon here, I'm expanding into medical training. So we're going to have articles, blog posts, and videos on that. And I want to start doing live classes. Hopefully by the summer. I'm trying to get my certifications back so I can at least give you the piece of paper if you want it. I mean, not that that really matters, but some people do care. But anyway, that's the goal for this summer. Hopefully we'll have it up and running by then. But between then and now, there's going to be videos and articles about medical topics. I've got one on tactical combat casualty care that's going to be coming out probably by the time this has been dropped. And that's it.
Fuck yeah. Well, we'll keep our followers posted on all of the medical stuff
Oh, yeah.
because they are super into that shit, especially people with experience like yours and people who are not going to bullshit them. So, yes.
I noticed. I thought I was going to be the only one doing that, but I found Dr. Boogaloo, man, and I'm glad he's out here too.
No monopoly on medical. Yeah,
That's
the more
all
the
right.
merrier.
That's right. That's what's so great about this community, guys, is that nobody really fucking. We don't have any like backstabbing or everybody kind of works together. It's pretty awesome.
I mean, there's so few of us. We have to. If we had,
Yeah, no.
it's like, no, fuck you, stay out of my area. It's gonna. That would not work.
Everyone's ready to share information, and
That's
that's what. It's a beautiful thing.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming on, man. It's been a fucking pleasure, and it's been a long one, but I think this is gonna be popular. I think.
Yeah,
this is
I had
it's
100 more questions I could ask, but
Well, I guess you'll have to have me on again then.
that's exactly what I was thinking.
Hell yes.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It was really great talking to you.
Oh fuck yeah! This is a topic that I think we don't talk about prison nearly enough. But I mean, that's why we brought Emp into the eMilitia, talk about prison abolition, and now your personal experiences. That's a big tool for education on a topic that libertarians just don't speak about enough. So
Absolutely.
thanks for going into it so much.
Certainly, I was glad to.